Welcome back to iGaming Next Online, day two. Super excited to be here for the first discussion of the day. I am here with Rahul Sood. He is the creator of Microsoft Ventures, the CEO of Unicorn. And Rahul, you have such an incredible history, such a rich history. I know you've spent a lot of time working with startup companies. You actually created your first company, I think it was in high school, Voodoo, and you sold it to HP. So lots of experience here that you're going to share with our audience. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for
And
having me.
yes, and today, guys, our topic is what relationship marketing can do for you. So I think, Rahul, let's open up this discussion by talking about why companies in general don't really spend enough time and budget on relationship marketing. Oftentimes they're focusing on acquisition. Why is this a common problem that occurs?
Well, I mean, look, I think people never really thought about what relationship marketing was until they started to study companies like Apple, for example. Back in the day when Apple was in trouble, Steve Jobs got in front of his audience of fans and talked about, Microsoft coming in and investing in them, and that he would turn the company around. This is after Steve Jobs came back. And what people didn't realize is that Apple had fans, not just customers. They had evangelists that carried the company on their backs, even when the company was failing. Um, and Very few companies have figured that out. Tesla's figured it out. Tesla drivers love their cars, and they talk about them all the time, like they're salespeople for Tesla. There are companies that have, and there are companies that haven't. And I think those that have spend the time to build online profiles. Penn Gaming is an interesting one. Acquiring Barstool was very smart, I think. And having Dave Portnoy go out there and be sort of an evangelist and build his following. But at the same time, Barstool brand is a great way for them to attract new customers. So there's a lot of examples of it out there now, but still not enough. If you look at some of the big companies like if you we've talked about this before, but if you look at HP, for example, what do they represent? Like, who do you think about when you think about HP? Nothing, right? And the same, like if you think about Microsoft, you think about Bill Gates, for example, or if you think about Tesla, it's Elon Musk, and even Apple, you think about Steve Jobs. But some companies just don't have a face. They don't have a community. They're soulless, and I think that's a problem.
Yeah, and if you think about Unicorn, you think about Rahul Sood. Perfect.
Well, hopefully over time, my partner gets involved and there's more people getting out there and speaking. But right now, they've given me that job, so yes, yeah.
And actually, I forgot to mention to our audience that we will be taking questions in roughly 10 minutes or so. So please feel free to send those through as our discussion continues. And Rahul, I think I was actually reading an article about you. And when you speak with startups, you say the two things that they're missing, like you say, is the fan base and also a face of the company. So let's dig into those deeper. And also, I just wanted to say with Apple, my father, if you say to him, I don't like iPhones, I prefer Android, he gets upset, literally upset. So what Apple has done is amazing. And actually, my dad's speaking tomorrow, so hopefully you guys can join for that. But I want to know how you build a fan base. I mean, you can have a cool product and all of this, but what is the strategy for getting people involved and excited about a brand?
Yeah, look, I think it actually starts with a few things. Number one, it starts with a great product that people love and will get behind. So it has to be a really good product. Number one. Number two is you have to have a team, like a culture that lives, eats, and breathes the product. Where they use it every day and they improve on it every day, that sort of thing. And then I think the next part is you have to have customers that love the product so much that they become evangelists, essentially. And so it's sort of a formula where you have a great product, you have a team culture, a tight culture, and then you have this customer base that's not just customers but they're evangelists, and those three things will carry the brand on its back, essentially. The brand is the last thing you should think about, because the brand is, most startups, that's the first thing they think about, is what does the brand look like, what does it stand for, but they really should be thinking about the customer and the product and the team culture, what they want to build. And when they do that, the brand sort of forms itself.
Interesting. And I know that you've told me that when you put together the whole idea for Unicorn, that the brand obviously is a big thing, but you were creating cool merchandise and all sorts of interesting things to get people excited about Unicorn. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. Look in the gambling space, it's a tough space. It's a space where and I don't want to. I'm not here to take down any brands, but I'll just use a brand as an example. Like William Hill, for example, right? They're a very strong business. They have a good business. They've got sports books and different casinos and things like that. But like, when was the last time you saw someone wearing a William Hill hat, walking down the street? It's just not going to happen. And the same goes with a lot of the other brands in the space, because it's just not something that people think about. They think of the gambling brands as a company. It's like a utility. It's a necessity. Tabcorp in Australia is a big company, but nobody likes or loves Tabcorp. They just go there to place a bet on a football game or something, and then they walk out, or they do it online and they forget about it. But there's no loyalty in the gambling space to brands. There's no affinity. And when we started Unicorn, we said we want to change that. We want to build a brand that caters to a younger audience, that creates a very fun product, and we will engage that fan base where they are, rather than trying to bring them where we are, with products that we think that they'll love. And then over time, we'll create a brand that people will actually want to wear, and be a part of. And we have that now. We've developed a really cool brand that's synonymous with competitive video games and esports. And we definitely have a younger audience. Our average age of customer is 26 years old. And now we're taking a portion of our platform, and we built a commercial offering to offer other bookmakers to add to their sports books. But the cool thing is, it's branded, powered by Unicorn. And so we're bringing in this really cool esports like interface that's like a no-brainer interface for these people to integrate into their sports books, and hopefully we can help drive a younger audience to them as well. So
Very
yeah.
cool. And as you're talking, I mean, actually, Bodog back in the day did an awesome job with this. I still wear Bodog branded
Yeah.
merch.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool. And when you say creating a fan base, I mean, do you ever think about actually putting an event together to bring these fans into? I mean, now you can't really have physical events like that, but maybe virtual. I don't know. What kind
Yeah.
of ways can you get these guys together?
Well, we do run tournaments online. We've done a few in the past, and when we do, we integrate our odds feed and things like that into it. So we run tournaments on, like Twitch is the broadcast platform, but we have our own tournament platform that broadcasts across Twitch and other mediums. And it's not hard to run a tournament. We've got a software that lets us do brackets. We can put up a $50,000 prize pool, invite some of the top teams to come play over a 4-week period or whatever, and we can generate a lot of views that way. That's one way to engage people. Another thing that we do is, we also have different types of betting, not just betting on esports, but we have products where we bet on streamers. So we let our customers bet on streamers, and streamers have their own fan bases. And if you can watch Ninja, for example, streaming on Fortnite, and you can bet on him, that's pretty cool. And you can do that on Unicorn. And we created other products that are sort of 24/7 esports, even when there may not be an event, or there's a lull in an event. We have virtual esports that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then the other way that we build community is we created something where it's skill betting on your own skill, and it requires just your own skill, betting on yourself in a game that you love to play. So unlike other skill games that you've seen in casinos and stuff, the Unicorn platform allows you to play games like I don't know, League of Legends, and you get a set of odds on yourself, or betting markets on yourself, and you can just bet on yourself and go play a game. And that in its own right has created a pretty significant community for us of gamers. And then those gamers then turn around and will go place a bet on other products on the platform.
Yeah, very interesting. And when I was doing some research on relationship marketing before this conversation, I know that a lot of people say that companies that represent something positive, or they're doing some good work for the planet, or they're doing things like this, it's really appealing for customers, and they're proud to be spending their money or to be associated with a brand that is, doing things towards global warming, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this. I don't know if you are involved in anything like this with Unicorn, or if you could speak on behalf of some of the bigger companies out there. How does this work with relationship marketing?
So, so if you talk about giving social good, that sort of thing,
Yeah,
yeah,
charity, this kind of
yeah.
stuff.
So, I think one of the best examples in our space, at least that I look to and I aspire to be like, is probably Bet365, and just looking at the work that Denise Coates does, just publicly.
Yeah.
She's pretty phenomenal. Let me just say, like, to take a business like this, which is really historically gambling is you can look at it in negative ways and that sort of thing, but she's really like turned it into, I don't know, like something royal or something, and she's done a damn good job of doing that, by giving back and things like that. We do the same thing in the esports community. So we run, we run tournaments, we invest in teams, we invest in the community and things like that. But I think over time, as we become bigger, and we go to a bigger platform, there's a lot more that we can do and we should do. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I know that in Seattle we have quite a few big companies, Amazon, Microsoft, and it's important to build a brand and build relationships within big companies that you work for as well, because then someday you might go off and start your own business and this kind of thing. So can you talk about the importance maybe internally of
Yeah.
of building relationships and how that
Yeah.
helps
Look,
the future?
I mean, I'm in Seattle, and when you think about the companies that are based in Seattle, it's unbelievable. You've got companies like Starbucks, Amazon, Microsoft, Boeing, Costco. All those companies are based here. They have their headquarters here. And then a whole bunch of biotech companies are headquartered here as well. Um, and just being inside a big organization like Microsoft is a really humbling experience, because quite honestly, yeah, I'd say like 99% of the people are smarter than me in the room, and just getting to meet people like that and build relationships with them over time, knowing that Microsoft is kind of a revolving door. Like, people go and they go start things. Some become very successful, some go back. And some go to Amazon, and vice versa. And having those relationships with people. I mean, I know I through my connections at Microsoft, I've got so many inroads to companies across the whole ecosystem that we can call and work with. And I can tell you that as a gambling company, these guys would never have spoken to us before, but we've got really, really good relationships internally, where they love what we do. They love sports betting. They love video games, betting on video games, that sort of thing. And you're going to see some really cool things from Unicorn, on in that space in the very near future. So, and that's because of the relationships that we've built.
Amazing. Doesn't it also work? It's work in the online gambling industry too. If you're working for a huge operator, right? And you want to start your own thing, it always helps to have solid
Yes.
relationships. Very
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the U.S. market right now, in the regulated gambling market, there's a big focus on acquisition, lots of money spent on marketing, and I know some people say that this could lead to an eventual clampdown like we experienced here in the UK. But just wondering if there's a message you would want to send to these companies in the US as to why it's so important to focus on retention as well, and
Yeah.
relationships with customers instead of just acquisition.
I think it's important because, well, look, I've said this often. The COVID, the pandemic is an oracle into the future, and it created shockwaves in the industry. Las Vegas is a prime example of, the shock that this pandemic created. And the reason I say that is, years ago, when the economy fell apart in 2008, ish. Vegas was obviously hit hard, and they get hit the hardest first. And they basically said, never again. We're never going to have this happen again. So we're going to invest beyond just gambling to other areas, entertainment. We're going to get heavy into sports. They brought in the Raiders. They got the Golden Knights hockey team. They have an amazing soccer team. Like, they've done such an amazing job on sports. and they were doing great. There was more people going to Vegas every year than ever before in the history of Vegas. And then the pandemic hit, and boom, the whole thing shut down, and they got hit harder than they ever had before. And my argument to the operators is, why haven't you built a proper digital strategy, and kept relationships with your customers while they're in their homes, so that you can bring them back when they come to Vegas and you can engage them in different ways. And like, why is there a giant arena for esports and you can't gamble inside of it? Like, it's just stupid questions like that. It's like, why don't you guys invest in this area? And for years we've been working with these casino operators to kind of invest in this area. And they've just gone very slow. And then when the pandemic hit, we started getting inundated with calls. But unfortunately, most of these companies furloughed 95% of their staff. They were worried about putting locks on the doors of the casinos, and they had never had this. They never had to lock the doors before. And
I
this is a
know.
true story. So, it's crazy. So I think the pandemic has been a shocker for many companies. Certainly, in Las Vegas, and hopefully they come around and start to figure out that they need to start investing for the future and not just thinking about how do we save the slot machine business.
Yep. Yep. And I know that when you and I've had discussions, you've been saying that staying at home is a big deal now. I mean, even when the pandemic passes by us, this is going to be the way the life is headed in the future here. Just wondering, how this is kind of a big question, but how is this going to change the way that we do business in general? I mean, how do we have to focus differently?
Well, I think we just have to think. Well, first of all, it's going to change the real estate, how people work, and companies investing in real estate and that sort of thing. So working from home has to be like a normal thing. Um, the other thing is, it's going to change just like different industries. Like, for example, the
Yeah.
restaurant industry is going to change, where it's like eat outdoors or takeout windows. I can see, I don't see me going into a dingy bar for a long time, right? But I can see myself walking to a takeout window and taking home, Thai food or something like that. I think a lot of things are going to change as a result of this, and even sports.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, when the future that I've envisioned before this ever happened, of esports and sports, was sports and esports coming together, where you have physical sports meeting video games. And a good example of that is Zwift, the cycling game, where you hook up a trainer and or a treadmill, and you run, and you're playing a video game while you do it. It's unbelievable. And the same thing goes with people setting up at home golf simulators and that sort of thing. This is kind of where things are going, at least for the future of entertainment. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I hope that stadiums come back, and I hope audiences come back to stadiums, sooner than later. I don't think it's going to be that soon, but it'll eventually happen. But things are definitely going to be different. People are going to be more careful. They're going to wash their hands. They're probably not going to shake hands anymore, at least for some time to come. At least I don't see it happening. So
Yeah.
behaviors will change.
Yeah, and also I think some of us just realize some things are more convenient, right? It might be more convenient to work out in your house than to go
Yep.
to the gym.
Yep.
So we do have a question, but I don't entirely understand it. Um, it's quite sensitive to fraud or abuse. If the attendee could rephrase the question, I'll ask it. It says, "Sounds cool, Rahul, but quite sensitive to fraud or abuse." I don't know what that's referring to, but anyway, okay. So
Yeah.
since I don't know what that's referring to, or neither do you, any other closing thoughts that you would like to share with our audience about the importance of relationship marketing, or any message you want to send?
Yeah, look, I just think it's important for the CEO of the company to get out there and be visible, to take questions, and be openly accessible to people. I think that's definitely one thing. And in this space, it's kind of tough because you're in a regulated business. You have to be careful what you say, and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I think it's important. I think a good example of this, as I mentioned before, was Penn Gaming, and their investment
Yes.
into Barstool is very smart. And I think building an online following and engaging your audience where they are is very very important. and then having a digital strategy to go along with it. So if you have a good product that people can use while they're at home, then you probably have to worry less when when your retail environment shuts down. So yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. And this was so much fun, Rahul. That's our time for today.
Great.
Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and enjoy the show, guys.
Thank you.